morning, good morning. Hope you had a wonderful day yesterday, and today we're going to be looking at XRP along with the Sigma coin and some liquidity. So, and below data, so some below data in there. So, all right, so we're just in a chop pattern right now, right? We had the Trump speech event, we had a breakdown, we've had a grind to the upside, we've had a wick back up this morning on the unemployment news, which more jobs came in that were better than expected, and now we're ultimately seeing a pullback that I suspect will pull us back down into like this region, maybe down to like 129er. Get that out of the way, and then we can finally work out of here. So this might be just a long day today, or some kind of weekend event news narrative that manifests into the price action, you know, with Easter being this weekend, and that leads to a breakout maybe. So maybe everybody feels warm and fuzzy with their Easter days. So currently, I would like to see this level of 1.27 not be crossed, because I kind of count this as an initial sloppy wave one here that's kind of working through a breakout. And then from this ultimately ends up being a correction of an ABC, a WXYZ flat, and we would set this higher low. So for those who don't know what that was just now, but basically the idea is that we have a wave one, and then which up to here, and then we have an ABC down, ABC up, and then a 5-wave structure to the downside. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then that ends up being the bottom. We set the higher low, and then we go. So that's what we're looking for. So this is basically where I'm going to be watching. Can we set and hold this higher low, or do we start sweeping below this 127? I'm leaning towards the higher low at this point. So that's what I'd like to aim for and do a mega long here at this level with the invalidation below 128 and then super invalidation below 127. So that's just my thoughts at this current moment. And then jumping over to the liquidity, it kind of backs that up. So let's see, look at that pulled up. Yeah, there we go. And so the liquidity ultimately shows that we have a lot of supply down here with a cluster down at 127. Now this is on the 24 hour. If we zoom out to the 48, we can see there's actually a big batch of liquidity right below that low that we got yesterday. And I'm hoping that we can grab some support in here, get a news narrative shift or something into this 129 to 128, but we don't go and set that lower low. It's okay if we do, but that's, you know, just something that I'm eyeballing here, is that this is the concerning area. So watching how that plays out, it's going to be pretty important. Below data wise kind of supports this as well. So what we had is we had a whole bunch of shorts going into yesterday, and then with the spike this morning, they wrecked them. They're gone. So now the majority of what we have is now long. So you can see we've turned green over here, but very, very closely green. Open interest shot up and then just turned sideways. So we're super healthy on the open interest. We're just accumulating supply. Not a lot of leverage playing in this game. And we have the majority of that open interest has been short, and they just keep getting destroyed over and over again. And even with this tiny little move, that open interest short is the equivalent of that breakdown right there. So there really just isn't like right up here. So, you know, big breaks down, open interest really, really piles in, and then they get wrecked, and then they come back in again, and now here we are at the range lows, potentially bouncing, and they're getting wrecked. So, not a lot of spot buying, so we're just waiting and watching. And ultimately, with that same area here, we've got Sigma. So Sigma, too, is doing like a little flat here, so it has its impulsive move off the lows. I think it's pretty obvious now to indicate that this is now 5 waves. So we have a 5-wave move to the upside, right? Very obvious. And now we're working on a flat structure where we have an A, B, and a C. And we did it right on top of the supply. This is really bullish, guys. Even with the large sell candles coming in, it stopped and absorbed immediately. Came right back down into mid-range. And when we add our stochastic RSI, we can see that on the daily, we're still mid-range, right? Nothing working back up to the top range. It may capitulate here, maybe sweep in and give us a little bit lower low, right down to here maybe, or something like that. Talk about a gift back into 700s. But that's all I'm seeing at the point in time. Right now, it's a perfect back test of this level, which was resistance, breakout, and support, back test, and support. So I think this is super bullish for the chart. And I don't even know if we're going to be lucky enough to get down to here, to 690 to 700K. But if you do, that's your gift. Well, you know, up to you. You do you. But I'd be surprised if it stayed there very long, if it did sweep that low. So, all right, guys. But basically, long story short, I'm looking at this as very bullish for Sigma. liquidity to the downside, hopefully with a hold before the liquidity sweep, and we actually have a bear's win or bull's win for once. And then finally, we jump into my expected structure of a breakdown backtest and send from this level up. And I think that plays out over the coming days. This may take longer than I'm showing here, so maybe much longer. So, all right, but XRP does like to move, and when it moves fast, right? So we'll see how that plays. All right, guys, we'll check in tomorrow. Thanks for watching.